All right, let's dive into it. Welcome back to the Business Exit and Acquisition Playbook. I'm Trent Lee, the #1 business broker in the country, and today we're diving into one of the reasons, at least, one of the big problems that buyers face, which is deal flow, especially first-time buyers. So here's the truth. Most buyers never get a really good shot at the best businesses on the market. By the time they show up on BizBuySell or the other listing sites, it's already been picked over, depending on how the broker operates. Often, myself included, brokers have an internal list or a way to show their buyers listings before they go public. And this is where you want to get. This is where you want to get to the point where you are involved and you are able to look at those listings. That's not to say there's not plenty of good listings that are publicly listed, because there are, but you want to get the first crack on these. So you want to get on the broker's early list and even ideally learn how to search and secure listings before they even hit the broker's market to begin with. So we're going to talk about that so that you're not left looking at what's left over and you've got a clean pick of some of the best listings. So the question becomes, how do you, as a buyer, actually find the deals before everyone else? That's exactly what we're going to go over today. By the end of this episode, you'll walk away with a system, a repeatable step-by-step process that guarantees you'll see real good opportunities, not just what's left over. I call it the deal flow formula. And once you understand it, you'll never have to complain about not having good enough deals. Now, that's not to say it's easy. It takes some time and it takes some effort and it starts to move slow. But once it gets moving, you'll get a lot of good deals and you'll be able to look at a lot of things. First question we need to ask ourselves, why do so many smart buyers spend years looking at businesses and they never close a deal? It's because they confuse looking with sourcing. Clicking around Biz Buy Sell is not sourcing. That's like walking into a clearance rack at the department store and expecting to find the perfect suit. Could you? Yeah, you can. It certainly happens if it just happens to be the right day and you happen to be the right size for what's on the suit. And there are plenty of decent, good opportunities there. But the best stuff never makes it to the rack. The deals are gone before they even hit the public sites. They go to insiders, to people who brokers already know, to buyers who have a system. So if you're just relying on listing sites, you're playing not the wrong game, but you're playing late in the game. You'll see what everyone else sees, which means you'll either overpay or you'll have to compete and move really quick because the best deals move fast. And I'm telling you from a broker standpoint, when I put good deals on the market, usually what I'll do is I'll send out to my social media following 7 days before a business goes public. And if no one picks it up, then I post it on all the online sites. And the good deals, they move fast. And by fast, I mean, honestly, sometimes I have 100 NDAs plus per day on some of the, just that's per listing, not all of the listings combined. The really good ones. I had one listing that I had 27 full price or above full price LOIs on it. They move really fast. So the question is, how do you break into the inner circle, the inside circle? How do you make sure that the deals actually find the way to yourself so you can look at beforehand? So I'm going to talk about the deal flow formula. And as you can tell on most of my episodes, my videos, I'm putting together some sort of an acronym to help it stick with you, to help you guys to easily remember the process. So deal flow is the acronym today for this episode. Deal for D is direct channel. Owners, letters, cold calls. It's reaching out directly to the owner operators of these businesses. So that's by letters, cold calls, emails. We can talk a little bit more about that. But D stands for direct. E is email broker. Get on the email broker list. And here's what I want you to do. Get on at least 10 local brokers. Wherever you live, at least 10, if they have 10, get on their email list. Find out if you've presented yourself as a good buyer and you followed the videos before this about putting together a buyer package, you know exactly what you need to do to get the broker's attention. I want you to be on at least 10 brokers list. And A for deal alert is alerts on listing sites. So this is more of a set it and forget it. On the link below on this page, you'll see that there's a free tool where you can sign up for listing alerts. And what this tool does is the day a new listing comes on market, you go in and put your information on. You want to input your size of business, your state, your city, and your industry. The tool will search for all new listings that match your criteria and send you an alert the day a new listing comes on the market so you can reach out and immediately take action. Do that obviously use the tool here on this page. It's free, but I think on some of these sites you can do that same type of an alert. Set it up on a few sites. That's more of a set it and forget it strategy. And then finally, the L for deal flow is LinkedIn or networking, professional advisors, CPAs, attorneys, that type of professional that it works with business owners. So that spells deal. And when you layer them together, you create a deal flow, consistent opportunities every single week and every single month. Think of it like fishing. If you cast out one line, can you catch a fish? Yeah, probably, but you're going to wait longer than if you had 10 lines in the water. You're going to likely catch something a lot sooner. Not that I like fishing or even know anything about fishing, but common sense tells me that's a good analogy and that's probably true. So I went with it. So let's break these down one by one so you know exactly what to do. So first, let's talk about the first D in deal flow is direct channels, letter, calls, conversations, emails, whatever it happens to be. Do those really work in today's world? Yeah, absolutely, if you do them right. A lazy form letter goes straight to the trash, but a handwritten envelope, a message that shows their business, that gets opened. And if you haven't heard of bulky mail before, rather than just doing like mass mailing, do something that's either one, handwritten that you can tell is real, or look up something online called bulky or lumpy mail. That is a sure way to get a much higher open rate for what you're sending out. I'll give you a perfect example here. Bulky mail is something just like what it sounds. It's bulky, it's lumpy in the mail. It's not just a postcard or a generic printed off letter, it's something bulky. And I'll give you here's an example. I got a letter. Here's how I learned about it. I got a letter. You guys know those bank deposit pouches, the little zippers, like a little vinyl where you put cash and then you zip it in there. You can actually mail that type of stuff. That becomes your envelope. So I got this weird bank envelope and you just put a little sticky note for the address, put the stamps on there, and it works. And inside, as you open it, it had a bag of shredded dollar bills. It was obviously fake, but inside that, there was a letter. And it had to do with the money I was wasting for some totally other product. Didn't have anything to do with buying or selling a business, but it had to do with money I was wasting by not using this company's service. It was ingenious. It was fantastic. If you mail that out to 25 business owners a week, do you know how many of those are going to open that? I don't know statistically what it is, but it's not going to be a low amount. Probably everyone is going to open that. And inside that is your letter offering to buy their business. Just an idea. Get creative on your lumpy mail. You can send anything through the mail based on the weight and the stamps, but it can be as lumpy and as creative as you need it to be. So cold calling works. But here's the thing, you need to have a really good script. There are cold calling services that you can sign up for, or you can just commit to doing 25, 50 cold calls per week, calling around to local businesses and finding out if they're interested in selling. It's work. It's not fun. No one likes to cold call, but it works if you're respectful and you create some curiosity. It opens doors without pressure if you do it right. And let's be honest, direct outreach is slow if that's all you do, but it works. It takes some time and effort. No one probably enjoys it, but depending on how bad you really want to buy a business and you want to secure off-market deals, this is one of the ways that people are doing it. So you need to consider it as part of the deal flow. Next is E in the deal flow. Email brokers, get on their email list. And this is often your golden ticket. As brokers, sometimes we get the first crack at a lot of these deals. So what's the fastest way to get more deals straight sent to you? Get on 10 business brokers email list. Not one, not two, get on 10 or more. Think of a deal like subscription. Every broker has their own pocket listings or some way of showing listings before they go public. And if you're not on their list, you won't even know what you're missing. But here's a pro tip. When you reach out to them, don't just say, add me to your list. Send a short bio, proof of funds, your whole buyer package like we talked about in the other videos, so that you stand out, so you instantly get on the top of their radar as a real buyer. Why? Because brokers are like bouncers at the club that are the front gate. Who are they going to let in? They're screening out the tire kickers. They're screening out the people that they don't want to come in. So if you get inside, you get in their internal network, you do that by looking credible, by being and presenting yourself as a ready, willing, and able buyer who can close on transactions. So that's simple. Get on a handful of brokers list for sure. Absolutely is one of the best things you can do. Next is the alerts on listing sites. That's A for automate your search. And this is where I'd mentioned sometimes the best deals are seen before, but most of the time the best deals, while they're shown early before, don't necessarily all get picked up right away. And so they do end up getting on BizBuySell and some of the other listing sites. Most of mine do, just because I only give it about 7 days. At least for me, as I mentioned before, I post these on social media. So if you ever want to see my own listings early, follow me on social media and you can check out some of those listings. Other brokers might do it via social media, an email blast, check with them. But back to this point on setting up the alerts, absolutely set up the alerts using the link on this page. And you can get an alert based on your size, your industry, your geography, location. You can get an alert of new listings that come up. And you want to set these up on a number of sites. So that way you're not scrolling every night, trying to just waste time going through and searching for a needle in a haystack. You can automate it. So set up the alerts with tight filters. Which means you need to know what industry you're in, what industry you're interested in, what do you have background in, what is your geography area, what cash flow range are you looking for, what price range are you looking for. If you haven't already, use on this in our school community the price range finder, the ideal price range finder. It's a free tool calculator that you can use to make sure that you're shopping for a business that fits within your price range based on something you can afford and be at a responsible level of debt versus the down payment, the equity injection. That means you need to know all of this stuff. You don't want to. One of the worst things that I find as a broker is when someone calls me up and says, I'm industry agnostic. I'll buy anything. That to me is just a clear sign I'm dealing with a complete waste of time. A buyer might have really good intentions, but it just doesn't work. No one can be industry agnostic. What happens with I've got, for example, a multi-dental office location for sale. Someone who has no industry experience, they're not a dentist, they don't know how to run dental practices, they don't know how insurance credentialing and contracts work and HIPAA compliance. They're just not realistic buyers. And so there's so many businesses that just are not a fit for someone to say, I'll buy anything and everything. You don't want to be this buyer. You want to narrow it down based on industry that you have knowledge and competence in. That way you buy something that is within your range of expertise, within your range of experience. So pin down your buy box so that you can set up these listing alerts and get real good listings that are a good fit for you and that are deals that are actually will help you and get into the game in a low risk way. If you think about it, buying a business out of state in an industry that you don't know in with too low of a down payment, that's the equivalent of just raising your hand for a high risk venture. It's not a good move. So we've covered brokers, automation, site, direct outreach. Let me talk about now the L in deal flow. That's LinkedIn and other networking. Here's an insider secret. So, can you really even find these type of listings? Absolutely, but it comes down to relationships. That's it. CPAs, attorneys, wealth managers, financial planners, bookkeepers, these are all the people who know when the owner is about to sell. If you stay top of mind with them, you'll hear about deals before the listing agreement's ever signed with even the broker. LinkedIn makes it easier than ever. Search for local CPAs, financial planners, attorneys, wealth managers, bookkeepers. Just think about anyone who services businesses and message them. Let them know you're looking at buying a business in whatever the industry is that you're looking at. If they ever have a client that's thinking about selling, that you'd love to be a resource. It's not pushy, it's offering yourself as value. And when the CPA hears their clients that says, "Hey, I'm thinking about retiring," or maybe they come into the CPA and ask, "Do I have enough money to retire?" Guess whose name they'll think about when that comes up. They might pass it on to you. The key, again, is like the fishing analogy, fishing line analogy. You can't have just one or two CPAs. You need to connect with many CPAs because the reality is half of them are probably going to forget that you even exist. So make sure that the half that does know you exist is big enough that you can get some deal flows from them. Now, I know what you might be thinking. There's a lot of moving parts here. It seems like a lot of work, which it's true. All of these channels, how do you do it? How do you stay organized? You build yourself a tracker, set up a Google Excel sheet, set it up, use notes, use whatever you want, whatever program you want, and track the leads, where it comes from, the date of the contract, the next step, the notes. This is where most buyers fail. They just chase deals like they're chasing butterflies running all over the place. They forget follow up. They wonder why nothing lands. Here's the truth, though. The fortune is in the follow up, like the saying goes. I'm sure you've heard. Sellers get busy, brokers forget, referral sources forget. If you're one who follows up at the right time, you win. And the only way to follow up at the right time and win is to stay organized. So have some type of a CRM or some sort of a tracker set up where you can track not only where all the deals are coming from, but what the next steps are. But you also want to make sure you know what referral source is actually working in your area. You might have a better referral source than another area, someone else doing the same deal flow criteria. So we've covered the formula, the channels, the tracker. Let's wrap this up with a recap and action items so you can step away knowing exactly what to do. Remember, most buyers fail because they confuse browsing with sourcing. There's a big difference between browsing and sourcing. The deal flow formula gives you 4 channels: direct, email, brokers, alerts, LinkedIn. Direct outreach works if it's personal. Brokers respect serious buyers with credibility, so have your buyer package put together. Automate the alerts so that they're set up. Networking puts you in the inside circle for some of the professionals that work with business owners. And then the tracker helps make sure that nothing slips through the cracks. Is it work? Absolutely. Buying a business is not easy. Running a business is not easy. It's going to be putting in time, effort, and organization through the whole way. So here's your action plan for the next week. Sign up and talk to 10 brokers in your area. Send them your bio package. Set up at least 3 listing alerts to automate that. Remember, you got to know your buy box criteria. Draft probably 25 to 50 direct owner letters per week and send them out. Message 10 to 15 CPAs, attorneys, financial planners, bookkeepers per week and try and connect with them. Build your tracker and log everything. By doing that, over the next 90 days, you'll have deal flow that you'll start to see some really good listings. The key, though, is you got to put in the time and the effort and do each of those things every single week. And that, my friends, will get you a good crack at some good businesses in your local market that match your criteria. See you in the next video. Talk with you soon.